Good afternoon. We would like to talk about healthy living. So, the idea of healthy living has been controversial and complicated for so many years. And during this discussion, you will understand why that is. So, this is all the components we'll be looking at. What is health? So, initially, the idea of health was that if you are not ill, if you are not sick, then you must be healthy. But since the 1947, this has changed to rather be restated as it's not the absence of illness, but actually the idea of being better, being well, being more adjusted, being in a state of physical, mental, social well-being. So the bar has changed. And to understand that, we'll have to look at the biopsychosocial spiritual model to get us a better in-depth view of that. We also discuss health behaviors. What is the things that we do that actually either makes this better or worse, this state of health? And then some of the health beliefs that we have regarding if there's any changes that you can make in your health. How big is the chance of you making a change, and if you see the need for making a change, and if there is a change to be made, where in the process of changing are you? So this is all the definitions, all the words that should be able to know what it is, and also apply this information. So when we look at the stages of change, and that is the last idea that we should be looking at, is that before we make any change, there's a pre-contemplation phase. That is where we don't really buy into the idea of any change. But if we get more information, we are more easily persuaded to go to the contemplation phase, where we actually consider making a change in our life. And then we come to a decision phase or the preparation phase. And that's actually where we make the step in the direction of change. But at this stage, we haven't done anything actually. And then the next phase is the action phase. This is where we first try the new behavior. And after that, we come to the maintenance phase, and that is where we try to stick to this new change. So we have this biopsychosocial spiritual model, and the bio stands for your biology, the viruses, bacteria, things that's part of your physical biological component. And then we have the psychological, that is where your belief system is, your worldview, your coping, stress, pain, all of the things that's actually mindset bound. And then socially, like class and culture, ethnicity, and also maybe religious groups that you're part of. And then the idea of moving into a more healthier place needs to be seen that you need to move healthy in all three of these, and including spiritual phase. So looking at all four of these and the biopsychosocial spiritual model, that is where we go to find out, but is there any health concerns? Can we improve any health components in our lives? Now, it's also true that if you do something biologically that's a plus one, that's good for you, like exercising, that will have an influence on your psychological, socially, and spiritual as well. Or if you're being socially bullied, that will have an influence on your mindset, biology, spirituality, and so forth. So we see a person as holistic. It's all of these components, not just a biological person that stands in front of us. So by looking at all four of components, we have a more in-depth idea of what the individual is made up of. Then with health behaviors, we have health promotion. And that means that you are aware of any health impairing habits that can actually have a negative influence on your health. So what would that be? In this example, I would like to use something as smoking, for instance, and you are aware of this health impairing habit. You know smoking is bad for you. So in this regard, it will be a health promotion. Now, health behaviors are regarded as behaviors that relate to health status of the individual. So if you play chess, would that be a health behavior? What do you think? Would it be or not? But isn't it something that actually makes your mind sharper. So in this case, it would have an impact on your health status. So health protective behaviors, that refers to anything that someone can do to enhance their health, like for instance, exercising. Health compromising behavior would be like smoking, something that's actually countering your move to a more healthier place. And coming back to the definition of health, we used to see it as either a yes or no, on and off switch. But recent years, well, from the 1950s, the idea has become more dominant, me, in the sense that you're on a continuum. You can be more healthier or less healthier. It's not a yes or no question. But a lot of our health habits, that is, any habits that's related to your health, has been established from birth till age 12. So there's a good chance that the health habits that you have is actually health habits that you've picked up in your social environment. So a health habit is something that has been taught and reinforced, meaning people have praised you, or it was frowned upon, or was something that was beneficial for you to have growing up. Eventually, a health habit becomes independent of reinforcement. So then it's automatic. Then you don't need anyone to tell you, hey, this was a good idea or this is a bad idea. So a lot of our health habit ideas has actually got stuck at age 12. So it would be a good idea to just update these health habits. Now, when we want to predict health behaviors, if we look at the social factors, as an example, who's in your environment? If you live with someone that's exercising constantly, there's a good chance that that behavior will rub off on you. Then genetics. There could be a genetical reason as well that can predict our health. Emotional factors such as anxiety, stress can also be factors that's impacting and predicting our behaviors. And then perceived symptoms. If you're shortness of breath, or if there's pain, there's a chance that you will either do something or counter do something to lessen the pain. And then there's a beliefs that means mindset wise, beliefs of the individual or beliefs of the health professional. So there at the medicine at this stage, what happens is that the doctor and the patient actually has a discussion regarding which way forward. So it's not a place where the doctor has the full say, but we can actually have a discussion on what will be best for me. Give me my options. And this is just an example, and it's also found in your handbooks. Biologically, if there is anything like hunger or appetite or a specific taste that you like, you will be more prone to eating those specific foods. Economy, what's the cost? And is it available? Is it close? Or if a health store was closer to the place where you lived or frequently came, the chances of you eating healthier will go up. And physically as well, if the access and the education and the skill regarding, let's say, cooking and the time it takes, if that is easier to achieve, chances goes up of eating healthier. Socially as well, like we said, if we have a roommate or family that's very healthy, we will most probably follow in those tracks. And psychologically, if our mood goes down, usually we like eating foods that makes us feel better, like ice cream, sweets, chocolates, things like that. But what's your attitudes? What's your beliefs? What's the knowledge that you have regarding some specific foods? Then we have the HBM model. It's the health belief model. So when we look at this, it suggests that if you know, if you feel, if you can see the susceptibility of illness, the chances of you changing goes up. So because the chances of getting lung cancer is high, when smoking, the chances of you changing the behavior could go up. The severity of the illness, because we know how severe it is, the chances of stopping smoking will go up. the cost involved in carrying out this behavior. That means how much will it cost you to stop smoking? Not meaning money wise, but how irritable will you become? You might lose some friends, maybe social status. What's the cost involved? But then what's the benefits involved? Also, in the sense of not just money, but you will be healthier. You won't have the pain, the lung problems anymore, breathing. Then is there any cues to action? So every time someone pulls out a lighter to light up a cigarette, that is a cue for actually jumping into action and smoking. But what if that does the opposite? That every time someone pulls out a lighter, you start doing push-ups, for instance. That's a cue to action, as an example. Then we have health motivations. So what's the thing that's motivating you? In chapter one last semester, we actually spoke about what's the things that can motivate us. If we have purpose, autonomy, and mastery, if we put those things together, it's easier for us to conjure up motivation. Then perceived control. How much control do you really have in stopping to smoke? So when we talk about that, we talk about the internal and external locus of control. Meaning, is it inside of your control or is it something outside? Is it something that you don't have much control over, or do you have immense control over it? And then we're getting close to the end where, because we are overly optimistic, unrealistically, it's difficult to change behavior. Now, this might seem contradictory, but let me explain. Because we are so optimistic, we don't see that smoking will ever cause any harm to us. We are still young and fit, so we are unrealistically optimistic. We think life is always going to be like this. So, by removing the unrealistic optimism, we can actually see, but what's the chances of this? If if we are 100 people sitting here and only three people say, but they are scared of dying of cancer. If you look at the general statistic, how many people die of cancer in South Africa, what is that? Is it only 3% or is it much higher? So it's difficult to have realistic optimism if we don't know the facts. So there's a lot of cancer patients every day that's receiving treatment. And if it's really only 3% of general society, there won't be as many cases that we hear of where people are actually diagnosed with cancer. So maybe we should look at statistics if we want to change this optimism. Then coming back to the stages of change. Where are you regarding any health change habit in your life? Do you want to start exercising? Which phase are you in? You want to start eating healthy? Do you want to study more? Do you want to, what is any health habit in your life looking at it? At which stage is it? Then what is what is the characteristics of health compromising behavior? How vulnerable are you? Health, our self-presentation process, what does that look like? What about pleasure seeking? What about the gradual occurrence? As this cancer grows, initially it's something not that isn't seen um, without tests being made, so you don't feel anything. Coping mechanisms, is it something where you use smoking as a way to cope in life? And then general defiance in adolescence. We all know teenagers where they um, say this thing that, it will never happen to me. I'm stronger than cigarettes or cancer or so, without trying to defy the odds. And then the larger social structure. What does society tell us about health? So just talking about something like addiction, all the addiction that we have can be divided into three categories. Now, before we get into that, you need to know that there's different dependencies. We have physiological dependency, that's where your body actually needs it. Psychological dependency, that is more of a habit. You just think you need it. Substance use, that's anyone that uses substances. And then substance abuse, that is substances that's being used to a very excessive degree. And then psychoactive substances, that's drug or medication that affects the central nervous system, changing the way you see and feel and function in this world. Now, all the specific drugs we get can have an influence either stimulating us, giving us energy, depressing our central nervous system, making us calm down, or hallucinogens that makes us see things that's not there, experience things that's not there, smell things that's not there. So it works on our five senses. So you should be able to give examples of in which one of these categories each one of the specific drugs would fit. And then to end off, health protective habits are essential to a healthy lifestyle. Change or maintaining our behavior in the direction of good habits needs to be top priority for all of us. But that doesn't mean it is where it is for each one of us. Maybe we have unrealistic optimism, or maybe there's biological, maybe there's social stumbling blocks we have to overcome. But in making this choice to overcome them will be a move in the right direction for all of us.